Welcome to the Screen Podcast. I'm Wendy Mitchell. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a bonus episode of the podcast, which is all about Poland's Oscar entry, Franz. So this special award season episode is brought to you in partnership with Marlena Film Production. Hopefully some of you have already seen Franz, are already familiar with this film. It was very popular on the Autumn Festival circuit and is now firmly joining the awards race. So Screen's European editor, Tim Dams, is bringing us an in-depth conversation with the famed veteran filmmaker, you all know her, Agnieszka Holland, and also the rising talent, Idan Weiss, who brings Franz Kafka to life in the film. We should also mention that Cohen Media Group is distributing Franz in the US, and Films Boutique has been handling international sales. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Dams, the Europe editor of Screen. I'm here with director Agnieszka Holland and actor Idan Weiss to talk about their film Franz, a biopic of the hugely influential Czech writer Franz Kafka. Franz premiered at the Toronto Film Festival, is Poland's entry to the Academy Awards, and has just earned Idan a Best Actor nomination for the European Film Awards. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
Agnieszka, can I ask you the first question? I mean, you I think have tackled Kafka before. I read that you adapted The Trial for Polish television in, I think, 1981.
Yeah, I was like infatuated with Kafka since I was 14, 15. And since I read The Trial, exactly, that was my first lecture, first reading. And it became for me some kind of a shock. It was so different from, psychological, realistic literature like great novels like Stendhal or, Dickens or Dostoevsky or Tolstoy. And I had the impression that he understands, the world we are living in. And after I read another things and the letters he wrote to Milena first and after to other women. And I had the impression that I understand him, that I'm close to him. And then I went to Prague to study, and one of the reasons, not only reason, but one of the important reasons was that it was the city of Franz Kafka. And I was like following his steps, and, it was quite exciting. And then all the time, practically, not all the time, but, some every year or 2 or 5, I was rereading some of his stuff or read the new translations or read the new biographies or literary books. And in 1980, I adapted him for the Polish television, The Trial, and I had the impression that I really made it the best. It means I knew some other theatrical adaptations, I knew also Wells film, but I had the impression that they didn't understand him. I did. So it was a great adventure. Of course, after years, I'm not sure if my reading is only possible, but yeah, I feel really close to Franz Kafka. And when I started to go to Prague more often and work there, because I shot the miniseries Burning Bush, then The Charlatan, I started to see how important and how ironic became his presence in Prague, where he was practically absent till 1990. In the libraries and in the general conscience. But then with the free market, the Czechs realized that he is a great asset, that he is the mark, that he is a brand, and that it's possible to build some kind of the touristic industry around of him. So I found it fantastic. It means ironic, fantastic, funny, absurd, especially for that man who was so shy and who didn't want that his work will survive him. He didn't want the life after life. He asked his friends to burn all his manuscripts. Fortunately, they didn't. And so it was a trigger, I was thinking I have to find him, I have to look for him. I have to look for real or my Franz through all this pile of gadgets and books.
And I was going to say, because films about writers are not necessarily easy to make. They spend a lot of their time writing, and he worked, I think, in an insurance company, didn't he? So would you just tell us about your your stylistic approach to this film? Because it's not a traditional biopic, is it?
Yeah, I knew that it's impossible to tell Franz Kafka or to even try to, approach him in the classical linear biopic-like way. And when I was talking to the screenwriter who wrote the script and we collaborated together, I told him, no, through all this stuff, all that, usual story you will be putting on paper normally and to the garbage, and it has to be punky. It has to be like the right. It has to be in puzzles and fragments and layers. And we have to use something like the quantum physics, and mix the space and time, and make Kafka, or what we imagine Franz Kafka was, over-present in every moment somehow, So, and the most important things, or more interesting things, was happening between his head and his pen and the page he was writing on. So we decided that we'll try to go inside of his head instead of fulfilling, the story with the informations and so it's kind of experimental if you want, but I think I believe it's totally adequate to who he was and what kind of artist he was.
And how did you come to cast Idan as Kafka? How did you come across each other, basically?
It was casting Idan, we can tell from his side, which is quite interesting and ironic as well. I was worried, after the script look that we can start eventually the production. That I know what to do with that. I knew that the main challenge will be to find right Franz Kafka, not only similar physically to him, which is also somehow important because everybody know how Kafka looked like. We don't know exactly how, I don't know, Dickens looked like or how, Stendhal looked like or other great writers, but how looked Franz Kafka because exactly he became some kind of the icon. No one knows why, it's also so absurd. It's Kafkian. Kafkies in English, right?
Yes.
So I asked casting director to look for the poets and writers and musicians, because I didn't believe that I will find the actor who not only looks like him, but also has his soul. And the casting director, the famous German casting director, Simone Barr, who was working for us, she sent me the first video, and on that video was Idan and two other actors, I don't remember who, and it was a total revelation. I couldn't believe, I wrote to her and asked her, please organize as soon as possible the meeting with that young man, because I have to be sure, but everybody are very excited about him. But she didn't answer me for week two. On the third week, I contacted my German co-producers and I learned that she died. She was, Simone Barr died just after she sent me Idan's video. Oh. So it was very sad, and in the same time I had that, metaphysical feeling that Idan Weiss is Simone's last gift to the world cinema. And I received that gift as a gift, exactly, because it was great luck. Idan, as I said, he has not only look, but he has soul and also the acting talent, which, three elements I couldn't believe I will have in one.
So, Idan, can you just tell us a little bit about your career so far? I think I'm right in saying this is your first feature. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you'd done before this and in the lead up to this?
Sure. So I came from experimental theatre, performance theatre, underground theatre. I did a lot of theatre actually, and after that, I tried to go into the movie direction. It didn't really work out in a way. And then after almost 9 years, there came a casting from Simone Bear, as Agnieszka mentioned, and it was my first main role, first international movie, first big role, and so I really jumped into the cold water, But it was a wonderful experience, and I really enjoyed it. But it was overwhelming, It was, but it was great, It was. I mean, it couldn't be better for me,
How did you prepare for the role? To inhabit Kafka, as it were. What did you go about to doing?
First of all, I can remember that Agnieszka and me, we had a dialogue in Prague, sitting next to each other, and she told me that I should have a look on Rafael Nadal, how he's playing tennis, because he have that kind of tics during the play, and so I tried to watch him to create tics and different movements on the body and stuff like that. And for sure, then I read everything from him. I tried to, to read first the novels and the shorter stories, then the diaries. So to go step by step somehow. And at the same time, I was living there at that time in Hamburg, and with friends of mine, we had a home there, and I tried to think what should I do as an actor to prepare for the role, for such a big role, such a character, such a unique character, and I can remember myself when I did experimental theater. I did always stuff that helped me in a way that for other people probably is somehow weird, but for me it's so important to do that, to go into that kind of directions, to learn something or came out with something fresh. So I try to not go out when the daylight is there. I just try to go out when the daylight was gone. So I just I tried to. I wanted to get that feeling of dark energy. So I just went out when the daylight was gone, like for over 2 months, and which helped me quite a lot. I'm sure that I didn't have to do that, but for me, it helped me so much to get into the character.
What do you think that gave you for the character?
I think it gave me a lot of silence into the character. And that helped me quite a lot, actually. And I also tried, to create tics and I had to learn Czech 5 months and to learn rowing for 5 months. And it was quite a journey. And I also rolled up my depressions when I was, very young child. I had depression because I was I was bullied in the school, and so I tried to roll it up and to set it as a topic again, and I think that's the most challenges I did.
And Agnieszka, how was it for you working with Idan, who's come from the theatre for the first time? Very interesting, as he was saying, about your instruction to kind of watch a little bit of Rafa Nadal.
About Rafael Nadal, it was not only that he has some kind of, special ceremony and this kind of very, to me, charming tics, but also he has some aura, some kind of, sincere goodness, something, which is which I've seen in Idan's eyes, and I wanted him to be aware how to use it. So it was just the trick, it was just to help. I didn't want him to go to the stereotypes of gloomy, depressing, foggy, etc. I wanted he locked himself in the darkness, but I wanted to put on my Franz a lot of light. And I wanted to give him colors also, not to kind of imprison him in that, black and white shadows. But working with Idan was great. It means, as I'm speaking about that kind of the very quiet sincerity, from the beginning he is a great listener, which very few actors actually are. And it immediately gives some kind of the focus and concentration of the way he's present on the screen. And I directed children, and I directed a lot of animals as well. So I was not afraid with the newcomer Idan Weiss. It was a question of the trust. It means we built quite quickly, I think, mutual trust. And after we've been looking together, for the truth of that character, we try to find. So it was a process, and I think it was a very honest process and quite joyful process as well.
Do you have a long kind of rehearsal period together?
We did rehearse a bit, but it wasn't a very long period. No, we rehearsed with other actors. I wanted to rehearse we read through a bit. But it is not the kind of script you are rehearsing too much, because the script is coming in kaleidoscope from many elements.
Yes.
And you have few dramatic scenes which are longer, and of course we rehearse those scenes. But the most important, it was to create the family together. To read through and to make the staging on the real set. We've been shooting everything in real locations. So we had 2 days of rehearsal on the stage, especially Kafka's apartment, and we started with Kafka's apartment. Where probably 20% of the story, maybe even more, is happening. And when we establish all the important family relationships. First day was crazy because Idan we shot with 2 cameras and we improvised a lot, and he didn't know if he has to which camera he has to choose. But after 2-3 hours, he understood that he just has to be there and that he doesn't have to think about the camera. We've been trying to give to the actors as much of freedom as possible, and to open it, even if the dialogues have been quite precisely written. We've been also using some amount of improvisation, and also the visual solutions, the way how to shoot the scene, or some kind of the idea which came on the set or on the street to our head, to the cinematographer and myself. We just went for that. So practically the crew was very excited because they didn't understand exactly what we are doing, not everybody. But they felt that we are doing something new and joyful, and so they've been saying that it's never boring because practically every day we are shooting different film.
Idan, how was it for you? The comparison with coming from the stage and then actually being on the set and as Agnieszka was saying, working with 2 cameras, and it must have been a very kind of different new experience for you.
Yeah, it was a completely new experience because I did short movies, 10 short movies, which the half of that was a disaster. But it was quite a challenge to get through the cameras. That at the same time we have so much freedom for improvisation, and you can do so much. At the same time, we have that script and Agnieszka who are creating that high level of atmosphere. At the same time, you have so much freedom for improvisation, which is, I think personally, is wonderful to have that 2 options and the crashing together somehow. And it was a challenge, but I was happy about it, to have that challenge and to use that opportunity. So I rushed just through it, So it was great.
Agnieszka, can you just tell us? You were mentioning about the locations as well, where you filmed, and what level of authenticity really you were looking to achieve with the film and the depiction of Kafka and his family life and his situation.
Well, we shot most of the story in Prague, and 90% of Franz's life happened. It means was in Prague, and he was very attached. And in the same, he hated that place as he was attached to his family. But in the same time, he wanted absolutely to leave. So he was trying to leave many times, and he considered that he said one that Prague is like the lover with the drops, which when she gets you, she will never let you go. And I know all the places where in reality he lived, which was actually quite a small square, but we've been using not exactly those places because they changed. They are, it was impossible to shoot in those places, but very similar places. So, for example, the apartment, I think we've been shooting on Mala Strana, which is very popular, coming from the Charles Bridge to the second main square. And it was a river of tourists going behind our windows. Which somehow, connected those two realities we tried to show in the film. And we've been shooting on that little Golden Street on the Castle area, where he really lived for some time. He was very happy because it was silent there, and he wrote some very important things, the trial in the first place, but some others also, during that relatively very short period. We've been shooting a bit in Berlin. We've been shooting a bit outside of Prague. I'm never working for exactitude because I don't believe in that. I think that is the truth of the film, and is different with the documentary, of course, with the real documentary. And it's the truth of the facts of the history, and it's the truth of the imagination. And when you are doing feature film, even about real person, you have to mix it together because no one really knows how that person really was and what the situation really was. Anyway, it is always some assumption that it was like that, but I even don't try to prove that it was like that. I'm based on the facts. We read very carefully again with the writer and all the biographical facts and all his diaries and all his letters and the statements of Max Brod and other people who knew him. We met with his family. He lives in Prague. The grandchildren and great-grandchildren of Otla, his favorite sister, because they survived. It was very touching, actually, and they are great people. They are more from Franz's side than from his father's side. They don't know how to make the business, and they never made no money on his heritage. So, we've been surrounded by the true life of Kafka and the true people and the true places, but we had to create something which was our vision of that.
It sounds like a real kind of joy of a film to make. I mean, you made Green Border previously, which must have been a much more challenging, it was emotionally and physically kind of film to make. But this, I get the impression that this was a kind of, something that you.
Well, Kafka is not a very light subject, but it's true that focusing more, it means projecting our courage more into the stylistic research than to the political statement and political fight. It's less tiring for somebody who has, I think, creative and artistic ambitions. But I love making movies about what I find in that moment important to tell, with all freedom I can achieve, and with the humility that you will never succeed completely.
Can I just ask you, because you I think you've been nominated before for for an Oscar 3 times. You've campaigned. You must have seen multiple kind of different awards campaigns for your films or been part of them. And I was just wondering if I could ask you a question about how you find the campaigning season at the moment for awards, because obviously this is Poland's official entry for the Academy Awards. Ida is nominated for the European Film Awards. You're both very much in kind of awards season kind of campaigning mode, I suppose. How do you find that? What's it like now as a filmmaker and as an actor? To be part of this process. Agnieszka first, perhaps.
Well, for me, as you said, it is not the first experience, and it's not my favorite season, I have to tell you, the award seasons, because it's some kind of the lottery, and you try, to help your film, and when we are representing countries, especially my country in that case, because I was representing Germany before, I was represented also the Czech Republic with Charlatan, and we've been on the short list with this one. And I represented, Germany, Czech Republic, and Poland once. With Poland, it's the most difficult because you are under the scrutiny. It's like to be in the famous tennis player or Iga Świątek or the football team. So if you fail, and there is a selection of 85 films, and shortlist is 15. And it's quite like a lottery because you don't know who will be watching which film and if, and it's some kind of the mystery, and it's difficult to campaign even because you don't know exactly who is your target. And the people are sitting in their houses now and watching mostly on the computer in the or TV set, and they're. Anyway, that is the game. It's the game. I am not doing that game for my pleasure or for my career because I'm in the age when the career is. It will be not changing too much, in a direction. I hope, except of one, toward the end, But I'm doing it for the film because any film needs, especially nowadays when it's so difficult to promote the theatrical, release and the theatrical box office and success. Any kind of of the awards and festivals and any kind of attention and successes is helping the life of the film, and we are, when doing the film and the film like that, we hope for the long life.
And Idan, you've been nominated for the European Film Awards. I was looking, I think it's alongside Mads Mikkelsen, Tony Servillo, Stellan Skarsgård and Sergei Lopez. I mean, 4 very kind of established, well-known kind of actors, and you've kind of broken into this world. How are you finding this whole process?
Well, I mean, for me, it's the first time ever, to promote a movie and to go through all those festivals. But I think it's very joyful and very interesting how differently everybody is reacting to this movie, and somehow everyone has his own reaction to the movie, and that is one point which is for me very joyful to feel that or to see that or to hear that reactions. And the European Film Academy Awards, I mean, it's an honor. I think that was the best day of my life actually when I heard that, and it's such an honor, to be next to all these actors who are actually 20 or 30 years older than me, and then I am there. No, but I think it's quite a journey, to do your first movie, and then you are in LA and promoting the movie for the Oscars, and it just could be a normal movie, which is just the people are going to see in Germany or wherever, and then the whole world is interested in the movie somehow, and everybody has his own reaction, and everybody can relate to it somehow, you know. So yeah, it's wonderful and interesting, very interesting. Yeah.
And can I ask you, Idan, what's next for you? What are you working on at the moment?
So I just said yes to a German-Austrian series called Charité, and it's the last season they doing. We're gonna shot like I have like 25 shooting days between February and March, and then we will see what happened after that. And it's gonna be like in autumn or end of September. I have my first feature film in English with a friend of mine called Jonas Steinacker, a very talented man from Vienna. He's now moved to London, and he's doing his first feature film, and I'm very excited because the script is very, very good, and he's a very creative guy, and it's about 3 young people who met on the internet, and they want to commit suicide as a climate protest on a container ship. So it's somehow a eco thriller drama, very intense play, and I'm really looking forward to it. And we will see what happens in the time between. Nobody knows.
And Agnieszka, for you, what are you looking ahead towards at the moment?
I had one script which is in like pre-production, some kind of casting in the first place, which will be American production that time, but quite low budget for American production, independent film. But I think it's too early really to talk about it. And in the first place, I need, to finish with the promotion of Franz, because it's not only Oscar campaign, but there are also the releases in consecutive countries where I want to help. It was France last week. After New Year, it will be in Scandinavia, Sweden, probably Italy. So it will take me some time, to take care of my last baby before I will be thinking about delivering the new one.
Well, Agnieszka and Idan, thank you both so much. All the very best for the journey for the film in the months to come and during the campaigning season. Thank you so much for joining the Screen podcast.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you to Tim and Agnieszka and Idan for a great conversation about Franz. We learned a lot there. Also, thanks again to our partner on this episode, Marlena Film Production. Thank you for tuning in to the Screen podcast, and we hope you'll listen again soon. Thanks, everyone.